I'm Allan Brown, and today we're rebuilding a KTM 125 SX engine. This engine's had quite a few hours on it, and we've disassembled it, inspected everything. The cylinder had some damage on it. We had to send it to Millennium. They did a really good job on welding and replating it. Then I looked up the parts and I was able to find everything I needed in the Wiseco Garage Buddy kit. We're going to start reassembling the engine now. We're going to start by preparing our engine cases. Included in the kit are new seals and new bearings. So our first step is going to be to load up the engine cases with new main bearings and new engine seals. The first seal we're going to install is the right side crankshaft main seal. Use a spacer. Okay, we're going to install the left side crank main seal, making sure we put it with the outer lip facing down because we're on the inside of the engine. Install a new countershaft seal that's included in the kit. And the last seal that we're going to replace is the shifter shaft seal. So we've heated our engine cases on the hot plate and we're going to put in our main bearings. We also chilled the main bearings for a couple hours in the refrigerator or a freezer. If you heat them enough and if you chill your bearings, you can generally get them to drop right in. We've chilled our crank, heated our bearing race for our left side of the crank. This way we can just slide it right on and it'll be ready for assembly. So we've installed our main bearings. Now we need to install our crankshaft. I've kept the crankshaft very cool, also in a refrigerator. I've heated up the inside race of this main bearing with a hot piece of steel or whatever you might have laying around. You can use a propane torch, but you have to be really, really careful. I just like to heat up a spacer and then place it on the bearing. With the inside bearing race hot and your crank cold, you should be able to just drop your crank right inside. Okay, so far we've taken our Garage Buddy kit. We've replaced all the seals, the main bearings, and installed the completely assembled crankshaft that comes with the kit. We've assembled everything just with heating and cooling of the parts, no special tools. Something I really like about the Garage Buddy kit is that it comes with a completely assembled crankshaft, a Pro X connecting rod, which is OEM quality, just ready to drop in. We've dropped our crank in. Our next step is to put our transmission shafts in. I've cleaned and inspected them. Everything looks okay. I like to put a little bit of grease on this washer so it doesn't fall off when you hold them upside down. I hold them together and slide them down into the cases. The countershaft does require a little bit of wiggling to typically get it to line up. Generally, once they line up, you can feel that it'll turn free and your gear teeth should be matched with both of them being level. Now that we have our transmission gears in, we can start assembling our shifting mechanism. There's 3 shift forks. One for the main shaft, it's a little smaller. And then a right and a left for the counter shaft. The shift forks ride on these shafts that have some springs. Use a little grease to hold them in place so they don't fall out. I'm going to put the shift drum in and line it up with the shift forks. Everything should move fairly freely. We've got all the parts inside our cases, our crankshaft, our transmission. I've got my other case. I've taken time to grease all the seals where the bearings are going to ride. I've also taken extra care to grease the main seal on the crankshaft so I don't damage it when I install it. The cases should slide down on the shafts fairly easily. A little bit of wiggling and it slides right down. We've assembled our cases, torqued all our bolts to OEM spec. I like to pick the engine up, stand it up like normal, and I check my shafts to make sure everything spins very free. There's no dragging. And there also should be just a little bit of end play side to side in each of the shafts. You can just grab them and feel them move a little bit. Also, your crankshaft has a little bit of end play. Okay, we're going to start assembling the clutch side of the engine. We'll start with the primary drive gear. Of course, we don't want to forget about the keyway that goes into the crank. This is unique on a KTM. The Japanese bikes don't typically have this. So don't forget to take that off your old crankshaft. Primary gear. Again, a little lube so we don't damage our seals. There's a lock washer, and this is also reverse threads. So when you're trying to take it apart, remember it's reverse threads, and when you're tightening it, obviously it's reverse thread. The next thing I'm going to install is the shifter mechanism. Now that I've installed the shift mechanism, I want to double check that the bike is shifting correctly. It's currently in 6th gear, and I can shift down 5, 4, 3, 2, neutral, and then 1st gear. So I know all my gears are working. Next, we've got the shift shaft that your shifter will connect to. This goes all the way through the cases. And this is what actually will turn the shifter. Here we have the Kickstarter mechanism. Sometimes when you take it apart, the mechanism will fall apart. It's not a big deal. You can put it back together, but it has to be timed correctly so that your Kickstarter stops in the correct position when the engine is assembled. So you'll note there's a line on the spline right here. This one doesn't have it. There's a line. And there's also a dot on the gear. You line the dot up with the line, and you know it's timed correctly. Spring goes on, and then you put it in the engine case. Then we've got our idler gear for the Kickstarter. Next, our clutch basket bushing and bearing. And our new clutch basket. Spacer between the inner hub and the clutch basket. Inner hub. Lock washer. And clutch basket nut. We've assembled all our pieces on the clutch side of the bike. We're just going to double check our torque settings, make sure everything is torqued to manufacturer's specifications. Tighten the locking tabs on the clutch lock washer. One of the items that we did order along with the Garage Buddy rebuild kit was the new clutch basket, and we ordered a Wiseco Performance Products clutch kit. So not only with the engine rebuild, we're going to have a whole new clutch assembly. I've arranged the clutch plates in the same order that's called for by the manufacturer. We have fiber, aluminum, fiber, aluminum, fiber, and then in the middle there's two steels. This would be the second steel. Back to fiber, aluminum, fiber, aluminum, finishing with the fiber. Also inside the clutch is the push rod that lifts the pressure plate, actuated by the slave cylinder, and then there's a top hat that goes on the push rod. Finished off with the pressure plate, springs, and retaining screws. We finished assembling everything on our clutch side. We're ready to put our clutch cover back on. There's some dowels to locate your gasket and your cover. You also have a gasket that's included with the kit. Pretty much all gaskets, everything that you're going to need that are included. The outer clutch cover. A little turn will line up the water pump gear, and everything should slide on fairly smoothly.